All right, historically, what has CNN been about? All right, how did they form? According to Daily Show, the book written by all the cast members. All right, right in the introduction, they talk about why they've started the parodying of the news channels, why they became a parody news channel themselves. And they found that CNN was so successful in their venture of being 24 hours, 7 days a week, that they felt that their 30 minutes of parodying the day's events um, and, and making fun of the reports, using their own comedic talents to twist the news and to just add jokes was enough to make them successful. But CNN started in probably the late '80s, and then the Gulf War catapulted them because people wanted to keep in touch with the war. There was no CNN back during the Vietnam War. There was no CNN really in the '80s. There were the major news companies such as CBS and NBC, but there was nothing dedicated. There was no channel dedicated entirely to news. All right, this is a fledgling company, really. I mean, 1990s. That's not too old. So to take on the attitude that CNN has always been there for us and with us is a false premise. It's a false belief. All right, it's a fairly upstart channel that's constantly reinventing itself. Okay. All right, there's a constant battle. So having that for them to deal with the fake news angles is nothing new. They've been gravitating in their own fashion, and for people to push back, well, Daily Show pushed back in their own comedic ways, but now there's more governmental interceptions from Trump. My experience with CNN started back in the military, because I never really watched CNN in high school in '94 up to '94. We didn't really have that cable. So when I got on after I got into through basic training and my first base in Louisiana, there was TV in like the main hangout room for the dorms, and they always had CNN running. So I would just sit and watch news after news story after news story, and a lot of repeats too. It was weird, but I'd sit through the repeats because every so often they'd bring a new one in. Maybe every hour or so there'd be a couple of new stories, and then they'd just put old stories on repeat every 15 minutes or so. And I'd just sit and watch, and it was quite fascinating. It was like a way to help me feel like I was in touch. But then when I went over to Okinawa, Japan, I had to pay for cable, and I refused to do that. So I was really out of the news loop, the 24-hour cycle stuff. I was cut off from. So there was a long period, 3 years, where I was cut off from cable television and just getting my information from the military newspaper, the U.S. I think, what was it called, the USO or the Stars and Stripes. That's where I was just reading my news, because those were pretty much free. I was just trying to focus on free stuff. They didn't offer any free CNN in the military. Well, at Okinawa at least, it was free cable on the military base in Louisiana. But when you get overseas, then they just didn't offer that. They'd offer a military channel instead. But when I got over to the desert, there was CNN playing. They offered cable there, which is kind of cool. And military guys would call it the classified news network, because it was like constantly breaking classified stories. But now that we're looking back at the fake news issue with it, what all exactly was real classified breaking news compared to actual stories that did happen. I have to question that from its very beginnings in the 90s till now, because this can't be a recent thing.